Factoring. All right, factoring trinomials. This is another thing we'll be doing a lot in this chapter. If you have trouble doing this, it's something you need to practice or watch this video a lot. So, trinomial factoring. So what we first want to do is, if we have no number in front of x squared, remember there's that invisible 1, that is our a. The number in front of x is our b. The number without the variable is our c. And we want to figure out two numbers that multiply to be a times c. And so our a is 1, our c is 21, so 1 times 21 is 21. And those same two numbers that we're looking for also need to combine to be b, and b in this case is 10. So two numbers that multiply to be 21 that adds to be a 10. So numbers that multiply to be 21 is 1 times 21 and 7 times 3. 1 and 21 will not add to give me a 10, but 7 and 3 will. So 7 times 3 is 21, 7 plus 3 is 10. Now that I've got the correct combination, I set up my parentheses. I'll put x's here because that's the letters that I have in this problem. I have a positive 7 and a positive 3. Then I'm going to go ahead and take the a value, which is a 1, and it's going to divide each number that I put in this parentheses. So 7 divided by 1 is 7, and 3 divided by 1 is 3. And now I have factored the trinomial. Same thing over here. Once again, label your trinomial. The number in front of x squared is your a, the number in front of x is your b, and the number without a variable is your c. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to be a times c. Our a is a 2, our c is -3, so that makes -6. Those same two numbers need to combine to be b. Our b is -5. So numbers that multiply to give me 6 is 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. Now, since they have to multiply to be a negative, one of the numbers needs to be a negative. So that means I'm essentially doing subtraction. So 2 minus 3 is not going to give me a -5. So that's out of the picture. A 1 and 6 will be the right combination, but I need to get the sign correct. And the 6 needs to be a negative because 1 times -6 is -6. 1 subtract 6 is -5. Therefore, I have the right combination. So now I'm going to set up my parentheses. I will have x plus 1 and then x minus 6 because that's a -6, so it's going to be a -6 in my parentheses. Then I'm going to go ahead and take my a, and it's going to divide these numbers. Now, when you divide them, if you can't get a whole number, you're going to move that number in front of the x. So 1 divided by 2 would give me a decimal, which means I'm going to take that 2 and I'm going to move it in front of the x. So I have 2x plus 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3, so I have x minus 3. And there you go. We'll look at two more. So here we have x squared minus 9. This is not a trinomial, but it is factored like one. This is called a difference of squares. And essentially what you have here is x squared plus 0x minus 9. And you can do your trinomial factoring, where you, just like you saw in the last example. But this can actually be done with a shortcut. And given the kind of work we're going to do in this chapter, if we can take a shortcut, we really want to take a shortcut. It's going to save us a lot of work. So when we recognize a difference of squares, the way you can tell that you have one is you're going to have an x squared. You may have a number in front of it, but you'll have an x squared. You will always have a minus sign, and then you'll have a number behind it with no variable. What we want to do for our shortcut is set up two parentheses, like so, one with a plus sign and one with a minus sign, because a positive times a negative gets me a negative like you see up here, the -9. Then we're going to go ahead and square root both of these terms. So the square root of x squared is x. So I will put an x in both these locations. The square root of 9 is 3. I have now factored that difference of squares, and that's your answer. So let's say you had x squared minus 25. It's the same idea. You set up your two parentheses, you have a minus and a plus, then you go ahead and you square root both the numbers. The square root of x squared is x, so you have x and x. The square root of 25 is 5. Once again, that's what a difference in squares look like. You'll have an x squared, a minus sign, and then a number with no variable. All right, last problem we're going to look at, we have 5x squared plus 6x minus 8. Once again, we want to look for two numbers that multiply together to be a times c. In our case, our a, b, and c are labeled. A is 5, and c is negative 8. So 5 times negative 8 is negative 40. And those same two numbers we got to figure out also have to add to bb, which is a 6. So numbers that multiply to give me 40 is 1 times 40, 2 times 20, 4 times 10, 5 times 8. I think that's all I can think of. So in this case, you can see that once again, my number that I have to multiply to b is a negative, which means one of the numbers needs to be a negative in my problem. So I'm going to put a negative sign and say this location. You could put in the first two if you want to. So now I got to think what numbers will end up subtracting to be a 6. 1 and 40, no, no. 4 and 10, if I subtract those, I can get a 6. So I'm going to use 4 and 10, but the question is, which one gets the negative sign? Well, 10 minus 4 is a positive 6. So I want to have 10 being positive and 4 being negative. So now I can go ahead and do my parentheses. I will have x plus 10 and x minus 4. Once again, we want to go ahead and divide by the a term. And once again, when you divide, if you can't get a whole number when you divide, you move the denominator in front of the x. So here, 10 divided by 5 is 2, so we're going to have x plus 2. 4 divided by 5 would be a decimal, so I'm going to move that 5 right in front of that x. So it's 5x minus 4. And now you have factored that problem.